Once you break things down, it makes it so much easier to handle.
Yeah.
And it's always like using micro habits, for example. Shout out to The Psychology of Your 20s. She talks about micro habits there as well.
And just for us listening that might not be aware of what micro habits mean.
Okay. So let's say, for example, you want to give me an example. What do you want to do? So we'll do. You want to buy a house next year. We actually do want to buy a house next year. Let's see if it happens. It will happen. We want to buy a house next year, right? But instead of saying you want to buy a house just like that, you need to do something every single day or every other week or every week, a little habit to work towards it.
Right.
So it talks to the mindset of having an all or nothing mindset that we tend to have as we go through life, right? Very much of, I need to ace this exam. I need to lose £5. I need to buy that house by next year. And if I don't, I have failed. So instead of having that massive box that you need to tick in order for things to be successful, it's instead having those bullet points within underneath that box as to how you're going to achieve it. And rather than how you're going to achieve it, but those things that will lead you to achieving it. Now, if you take the house, for example, is, okay, I'm going to save. But then even saving saving a house deposit these days can be very difficult, cost of living. So instead, you could say, every day, I want to set aside £1. Every day, I want to set aside £10. I want to have a look every month as to what the market is doing or what it's looking like for housing. So essentially, micro habits are smaller goals small things that you can tick off a lot easier, allowing yourself to be human and make mistakes, and it should be like, fuck up, be yourself, and it should be like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to tick every single box, but the boxes I do tick will lead me to where I'm going.
I love that. I think sometimes with a goal as big as saving for a house, it's easy to, because it's such a big goal, say for example, you've given yourself average 10 years to save for a house. You get to year 6 and realize, I don't actually have much to my name. I don't have much in savings. Fuck it. Let me just leave that goal because I can't do it. But when you're saying, you break it down into chunks, it makes things more manageable. I love that. I honestly love that.
Throw it back to uni, smart objectives.
Because it really feeds into smart objectives really nicely, I think.
Yeah, honestly, I think a good way to balance it all.
Agreed.
Right? To balance it all means you have to have so many things moving at the same time. And if you've seen those plate spinners, right?
Yeah.
The shits are wobbling. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is wobbling, but then at the end of the day, things are very much more, what's the word? They're balanced, right? Mm-hmm. He's balanced. Nothing's falling off just yet, but it's wobbling.
Yeah, as chaotic as it looks.
It looks.
Still spinning. Yeah.
Tweet.
That is a good shout. That's interesting. I think that's the great thing about having different perspectives, as we said earlier, because my brain would have worked so differently to yours. Like, I would have thought about that big goal, but just work towards it in a sense of prioritization. So how I think of balancing everything is right now. So, okay, in the grand scheme of things, in my mind, nothing is out of reach. Nothing is beyond me. Nothing is unattainable. I will get there one way or another. But I see it as seasons. So in this particular season, maybe I might have 3 goals. One of which might be to pass a specific qualification. It might be to buy a car or to buy a house. I would still go for it as if it's a big goal, but just in seasons. And then in the next season of my life, it might then be... So say, for example, oh my gosh, big example here. I have friends who actively set aside maybe 1 or 2 weekends, 1 or 2 Saturdays a month to go on dates, because they have that goal of, okay, well, it's a numbers game. Dating, finding your person is a numbers game. So the more I go on dates, the more likely I am to find my person. Whereas for me, I'm like, I do not have the time, do not have the mental capacity. I don't even have the emotional bandwidth right now. But when I'm in that season, I will fully make space for that in my life, and not go all in, but you know what I mean. I'll really accommodate a romantic interest. So I guess different people look at things differently, but for me, I feel like definitely balancing it all is done in seasons.
It's done in seasons, and I think it's appreciating, as you said, when your season is. Appreciating when your season is, but at the same time, you know how everyone does those vision boards, right? We did. I say everyone, we did one as well. But doing a vision board or having those overarching goals isn't a bad thing. I think the way in order for you to successfully, quote unquote, and I think we should talk about that later on, wink wink, it's coming. What's it called? What actual success looks like.
Oh, that's a big one.
It's a good one, isn't it?
That is a big one.
How to know, or being successful in that overarching goal. It's like, oh my God, for us to start researching, for us to start this recording,
fam. I have to just laugh because it's been a long way coming insofar as and I think what's beautiful about it is even before we met each other, we had goals of pursuing social media and adding value to people via social media. And then we met, started talking, put pen to paper. But it wasn't like, it's genuinely been months in progress.
It's been months in progress. And across those months, we've actually been able to tick off a lot of things that we didn't actually appreciate. But we probably should appreciate those a little bit more. Yeah, and I think balancing all is it's almost a massive thing in and of itself. And to almost, like, it's easy, I think, for you to be like, you should have done that better.
True.
Why can't you do this? Yeah. For your friends, it might not just be internal. It could just be your friends as well. It might be like, oh, you haven't got enough time for us. What's going on? Or work, you're underperforming. Why? Like, it's very easy to lose that kind of ability of keeping a hold on all your plates.
I guess it also depends on what all is to you, because like all to one person could just be, I just want to make as much money as humanly possible. Or to another person might be, I want to make sure my relationship is thriving, my family is good. Or to a third person might just be, I just want to look good, my fitness should be on point. So I guess it depends on what it means to you. But I think to the point that you were making, I think also, I think when we think of balancing it all, the default understanding goes to, okay, we need to have everything like at 100% at all times. But I've grown to accept that actually it's okay if... Maybe if I'm in a season where I'm focused on my career, yes, I might be putting 100% into my career, but that might mean, I don't know, 50% in my friendships or going out and enjoyment and all that kind of stuff. Or if I'm in a season of trying to get closer to God, that might mean spending more time reading the Bible and the rest of it, but that might mean less time listening to music and podcasts and the rest of it. So I think it's all about balance, but balance doesn't always have to be at its optimum.
What you just said, I think, is brilliant, because it's a realization I've only just come to know, right? You can't give 100%. Right? You can't give 100%
burn yourself out
to everything. It's impossible.
The key there is, though, communication and comprehension.
Yeah. Ooh.
Because I think
teacher
the people that balance it the best and have all the plates spinning. Even I'm thinking about our conversation with the CEO of our company, where she was saying how she's done incredibly well for herself in her career, but that has come at the expense of her spending time with her kids growing up. But what has helped her is her husband has massively complemented that and understands that in like, for her purpose in life, she wants to go on this trajectory. And so he sacrificed his career to raise the kids. So when you look at her as an individual, you might think, oh, yeah, she's a thriving boss lady, whatever they call it, but her kids are lacking. But no, when you look at her as a unit with her husband, everyone else around her, because they understand, and also she's communicated her ambitions to them as a unit, she has that balance. So like I said with the point about how, okay, you're in a certain season of focus, you might not spend much time with friends. You need to have the sort of friends that can understand that and actually support that, because I'm so sorry, we are far too old for this. You don't see me enough, you don't come out, you don't girl, we got money to make, we got places to be, we got things to do, we don't got time for that. Like, we've moved past that, for real. So yeah, I just don't think balancing, number one, means it always has to be at 100% all the time. And also, you don't have to do it in isolation. It could literally be you and your partner, you and your friends, you and your family, helping you maintain that equilibrium, whatever that looks like to you.
I just want to listen to her all day, mate. Like, I ain't got nothing more to add. Literally, what you just said. Yeah. those two things. You don't have to be optimum at all time. Communication and comprehension.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, utilizing the people around you.
Oh my gosh, 1,000,000%.
Like the people you have around you, I think can even make or break you.
Get into it.
No, honestly, I feel like choosing, you can't choose your blood, right? That's fine. You can't choose your blood. But you can choose who you surround yourself with, who you listen to, who you go to, who you love, who you hate. You've got the ability to control the second family that you have in your life.
Agreed.
And so upon what you were saying, you know, not having to do it in isolation, not having to do it by yourself, not actually having to give 100%.
Yeah.
You give 100% to everything, you're going to burn out.
Quite literally going to burn out.
And you know what's worse? Is that in trying to give 100% to everything, nothing.
What's that saying that they have? Jack of all trades, master of none, because you're just spread so thin.
It's just, it's one of those things where I do think, as a 20-year-old, as a woman, as an ambitious 20-year-old women, as ambitious 20-year-old women, as well as listeners, whatever age you are, you're ambitious to some degree, of course. You have a goal, you have a dream, and even if you don't, you know you want to be somewhere better than where you are right now. Knowing that, I think you need to almost break it down. What I would do, looking back in hindsight, is have you done this to do this quicker, like this project, let's say, or anything else really in life, is to see where I would want to go. So have that big picture, work back retrospectively, breaking down the things that I need to get there, because nothing, no matter how simple it sounds, nothing is two-dimensional. Nothing.
There's always so much beneath the surface. So much beneath the surface.
So much moving. And if you don't take into account that, you know, everything's a bloody onion and that there's layers to everything, then you are going to just feel disappointed in yourself all the time, because you're not hitting those goals, those targets, those dreams and ambitions. And that was me. That was literally me until probably last year. Because I'm pretty much a person, I've got so many things I want to do, and I've only got 2 hands, 1 noggin, 2 legs, and a handful of people around me.
And only so much time in the day.
And only so much time in the day. I thought that was what I was meant to say, really. But only so much time in the day, right? Which means that I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I want to do YouTube. I want to do TikTok. I want to go and do a hiking challenge, right? I want to do photography. The list can go on as to what I want to crochet. And the thing is, you start all of these things. I've started all of these things, but have I finished any? I mean, this podcast is out, so obviously
we did something. We did something right.
But back last year, around this time last year, beating myself up about it, because I wanted to do well in my career, but personally I also wanted to have a life, because you do have a life outside of work. But it's very difficult when you don't put into smaller chunks. If you don't put into smaller chunks, you're not going to be able to see beyond what is in front of you, which is a massive rock, a massive obstacle.
I think that's really good. Really, really good reflection. I was just thinking, like, as women, because, so stepping back a little bit from our personal experiences and looking at it more broadly, you often hear that, like, when men start their careers and all the rest of it, they can easily become dads and go on and just have it all and still have their thriving careers and all the rest of it. Whereas women, a lot of the time, you see a woman gets married and forgets she has friends. A woman, not even just married, relationships, forget they've got friends. Bro, the list goes on. Like, and even removed from that romantic scene, just even in their career, women start a family and have to give up their career. There's just always seems to be, the scales always tip one way and they're never really quite balanced. Do you think there's a place in life or a season in life where you have to be so focused in that you're unbalanced, so to speak, just to achieve the goal that you've got in mind? Do you think there's a place for that? Because I see it happen a lot where a woman, I mean, I can only speak for women because that's, that's what we identify as. But I do see seasons, women in seasons where they may be new mothers and they say, oh, I've not hit the gym in X amount of time. I can't remember the last time I saw my friends, and da-da-da-da. And it just seems very much they've tipped the scales very much in one direction. And it makes me wonder, is that in a way having balance because you're focused for a season, or should all the plates be spinning at all times at any given point in time?
I think it's a bit of both. So everything has its time and place. We've grown up hearing that, right? Everything has its time and place, and everything is here for a season, right? There's always going to be something beyond what you're going through right now, which is cool. I think what you need to do, and what we've had the good opportunity at our workplace to find out is, and I would urge you listening as well or watching this, is to go and find out what your actual 5 values are. The five things that you need to have to tick, right? To be, even if you've got work or you've got a picnic running around, or you have, I don't know what else, you've got someone you need to care for, you've got something else that needs your energy and attention. Like, I think despite that, you know that you've got 5 minutes here to have a wild dance for the day, for a minute, right, to your favorite song. No one's going to care. You can scream and shout, and it's going to be whatsoever. Or you can go for a walk, clear your mind. You listen to your favorite podcast, probably ours. Who knows? You can get. I think there's a way. No matter how bad or unbalanced things get, a way to pull back time that will talk to and speak to those 5 things, or those 3 things, 2 things, that one thing that makes you, okay, you know what, it's not all bad, right? Because by doing that, you will have control. So I think being unbalanced, when one person tends to be unbalanced, right, they're not in control.
True. Just running everywhere.
You're running everywhere because you're allowing everything else to dictate what's going on, right? So now if you actually have that one thing for the day that you know, despite no matter what, I'm in control. I'm going to take back, I'm going to claim this back, and it's not going to be impeded by anyone or anything, then you'll be able to feel some sort of balance within a sea of unbalance. Does that make sense?
No,
I want to hope.
Definitely makes sense,
To answer your question, I think it's very much a thing of just claiming back what you can, despite not being everything. Claiming back one thing can help you in a lot of ways.
It always reminds you of I don't know if you've had those days at work where you've had a whole 9 to 5 and then you're like, have I actually done anything aligned to my goals?
Like,
have I actually done anything? Because for those that aren't aware, most corporates at the beginning of every year, you are told to set your your goals for the financial year. Meaning that different companies do it in different ways, but for us, we set, I think, 5 or 6 goals for the year, and the plan is that by the end of the year, so come December, you will sit down with your superiors and you will assess how you've performed in line with your goals. So with that being the backdrop of things, you would think that every day when you come into the office, you should be working towards those goals. With that being said, though, sometimes there are days where you come into the office and business needs or just requests from people mean that you're pulled in so many different directions, where it's like, and I've had these days quite often where I'm so busy, barely get a chance to grab lunch, barely get a chance to grab coffee, and it's like, okay, but in line with my goals, what have I achieved? And I think it lies beautifully in what you said about your values. Like, if you have those set values of, okay, I want to achieve this and that, and not even just achieve, but what, drawing it back to like a personal perspective, if say one of your values is integrity and someone's coming to you with a proposal that doesn't quite align with that, you can be like, actually, no, I'm not going to go run around and get that done. And again, that can give you some sense of control and then leading into balance as well. But
I think, like, let's just talk about it for a second, right? That's one thing I think, especially as someone, I think the majority of our listeners, right, are going to be individuals who are going through university, have already gone through university, preparing to go to university, thinking of going into work in general, okay? And it is a transition that is not talked enough about. Going from all your life, you've been able to some degree, of course, you've had school and university, dictate how you spend your time, what matters to you most. You know, university is a prime example of that. You don't have to go to your lectures. You read.
Can we come and do it at 3 a.m? Who's
checking for you, babes? Nobody, right? Coming into the workplace now, right? Coming into adulting, you now have people to answer to. And those people do not have the same values as you, right? Corporations, at the end of the day, want to make money, okay? It's a business, and that's completely fine. They want to make money. Cool. Which means that they may have some values that align to you, but not all values will align to you, right? That's one. Which means all the things that you're doing, for me, in my opinion, towards the company goals that you talked about, that we have to fill out every year, are for the better of the company. Of course, we throw in our own personal development, but again, those are professional. They're not personal development plans per se. They're professional development plans, right? So I think it's very much a case of you need to, even in work, really and truly desperately in work, where you spend probably 80% of your time, right? You need to honestly find those slots where you can take back.
Agreed.
Because all the work you're doing, and it's one thing that's a pet peeve of mine, and I told you earlier, like it's just a thing of, it is already April 2023. What the hell have I done for myself?
In line with your own goals.
For professionally, I can speak for ages. I've got accolades, great. And I love my work, don't get me wrong. I love the work I do. I love the people that I work with. However, when I take a step back outside from all of it, and I'm like, what have I done for myself? Then I'm like, shit, maybe I'm not in balance at all. Maybe I'm putting too much attention on the work side and not enough on the personal side.
Goals,
But everything has a season. So now certain boxes are ticked at work, means that I can now focus a little bit more time here, right? I can be now focused on my personal goals or things that I want to do in life. So I think it's a bit of both, like I alluded to earlier. Knowing that there is a season, but knowing that you can't do 100% all the time to be your best self. It's just not. It's not. And it's a massive transition going from uni to a workplace, or going from school to a workplace, and having that autonomy drop 80%.
Completely different minefield.
9 hours of your day on average to someone who doesn't even know your name.
Completely different minefield. I think looking at it two ways, I think in the context of like your professional goals, I think one thing that's really helped me is, and I know some people don't like it, but I do it anyway, is sort of blocking time in your calendar. So there are, and everybody sees it because I've got an open calendar, so everyone in my team can sort of see where I'm up to, and I literally have certain slots every morning and every afternoon where I've just put in their focus, and it quite literally is that it's my time to focus, and during that time I'm intentionally working on things that I know will lead to my goals at the end of the year, because especially when you're very junior as well, there's this
expectation.
There's this subconscious expectation that who are you to say no to what's being asked of you?
Why do you not have time?
What do you mean you don't have, small girl like you don't have time? Come on, like you have no leg to stand on. So I think just asserting those small boundaries can honestly make all the difference, because you don't want to become that person where come December you've run up and down a million times, but it's like your goals haven't been achieved. What do you have to show for when December comes around? And I think also in the context of your personal goals, one thing again, similar, I guess, what's the word? Similar approach, but different application is reclaiming your most productive time. I can't remember who it was that said this, but I thought that was so good. And that again, I think, is being intentional, knowing who you are, how best you work. For me, I'm very much a morning person, and what I used to do was go to the gym in the morning, but I realized that the gym is always there. My mental capacity is not always going to be at its optimum all day. So I've switched around now. I do the work for myself and the things I'm interested in, the studies and the things like that in the morning. And then when I'm tired towards the end of the day, then I'll go gym. Because before you know it,
The day's done.
April comes, June comes, end of year comes, and it's like, what have I done for myself?
What have you done for yourself,
Right.
baby?
And that, again, this is why people are walking around so miserable. They might have the money, but they're not happy generally in life. They might have the friends, but they don't have the money. And it's just, you need to strike that balance. But again, I think also to the point we were saying about, can you have a season of being imbalanced? I think also you can, as long as it's intentional. You can't just be imbalanced running around just with anywhere, just appeasing anybody's requests. It has to be.
Talk a bit more about that. How so?
I think, okay, so I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example actually of when I was very intentionally imbalanced when it came to my life in that. So for context, I failed my first round of A-levels. So I did year 12 twice. And after that first failure, I said, baby, I do not have time.
We don't have time.
I don't have the time for no motives. I don't have time for no just BS.
Right.
Like when I come to, and I switched sixth forms for this like specific purpose, I want the best sixth form that will support me. I don't care about making no friends. I'm just here to get my grades and cut. So I was very, very, very focused on just coming to sixth form, getting my grades so that I can take it to the university I wanted to go to. And this was very much a moment of intentional imbalance in that I was so focused on my A-levels. I would go to school 8 a.m, leave at 7 p.m. Brother.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
Fam. I was not playing games. This was a period of time as well where everybody, like you're at the age where you can start working retail jobs and making little £200 here, £200 here. Like back then that was money. Like that was.
I still need that £100, £200. Yeah.
I chose to like not get that and not work. Well, I mean, I had like a small job there, but it wasn't paying me near as much as I would if I was in retail, because I knew that retail would call me in at their discretion, not mine, and that would eat into my studies. And I told my friends that, look, this season is for me to study and get my grades, because I failed one year, I cannot fail again. And yes, that was an intentional season of imbalance, but this is why it's important to have a supportive friend group, because back then I don't think they quite understood where I was trying to get to and the plans I had, and they really took it the wrong way. And so we didn't see eye to eye and ended up just sort of falling off, which is fine. But I knew that was an intentional imbalance, because in as much as I didn't have any fun, I didn't even look the best, all of that, I knew that was because I wanted to get to somewhere and then eventually reclaim all the other bits of my life that I sort of fall in the way. So I think if you are going to have imbalance in your life, make sure it's intentional, is what I would say.
Oh, I love that. I think we can end it here. No, mic drop, done. Like, honestly, I think it speaks, the imbalance you're talking about, I think, quote unquote, a balance would be 25% to work, 25%
in the
to
ideal world.
Literally in the ideal world, 25% to family, friends, 25% relationship, 25%. Everyone's happy, right? However, health. We forgot health. Health, 25%.
Faith.
Faith, 25%. Everything equal, but in reality, it's not going to be the case. But I think nothing is ever 25%, 25%, 25%, 25% at one given time or in one season. So having an intentional, unbalanced season is perfectly okay. And that is something I think we probably need to shout about.
Absolutely.
We need to shout
Absolutely. Because I think I'm sort of sick and tired of seeing people say how to have it all. And it's like,
you can't have it all.
It's a lot more caveated than just having it all. So I think we need to have more conversations like this, basically, to really peel back the layers and really delve into what it means to actually be in balance, be in equilibrium. But
no, that was some great gems. I think we're definitely going to take some of those away, and I urge our listeners / viewers to take those away as well, because intentional imbalance, unbalanced, like wow, shivers on me. Like, wow, no, that was great. And I think that's another reality check that we can cash in. Whether or not you choose to use it, that's up to you. But period.